Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Okay, so let's get back to our discussion on this China sword ban, which we were doing in this previous video as well. So, we will continue that discussion in this particular video and look at some of more data in terms of the impact of this ban in China and some data comparing what was happening before and after in terms of this ban focused on plastic waste. We are not talking about other waste stream. If you are interested in other waste stream, the same UN report which we have in every slides, these actually came from a report done based on some on UN website. It is available, and we will put that on as a reading material. But for in every slides you can see there is a link at the bottom, and if you go to that link you can find the information for other waste streams as well, because it's not the ban is not confined only to plastic. It is also it does impact other waste stream too. So, similar table which we were looking at earlier. So, there have been some calculations also been done in terms of how much waste was really imported by China. So, this they took the data population data from World Bank, waste generation data came from this particular paper by Jembak et al. From 2015, and then there was some UN data on polystyrene, polypropylene, PVC and other plastics. So, based on that, there has been an estimate has been made. This is an estimate in terms of what is the plastic waste generated in the waste stream. And so, if you look at the total numbers here, that comes out to be 11.8%, which is like 12%. So, this is the percentage of plastic that is imported that is being managed in China. One thing you should notice here, the percentage of plastic in waste stream has been kept constant at 11%, which is not really will be true, because as we have seen in Indian context as well, we are getting more and more plastic getting into our waste stream. So, we are presently in India we are at around 10 to 12%. So, earlier in 2010 probably we are 6, 7 or 8%. So, we have almost doubled our plastic waste volume, plastic waste the quantity of plastic waste in the waste stream within the country over last I would say maybe from the last 15 years or even less than that time period. So, and then waste generation rate is also kept constant here at 1.1 kg per person per day, which is also not really usually does not happen. But keeping all these, see, when you do some calculation, you make some assumptions. So, keeping all those factors and assumptions in place, they have calculated how much plastic waste is generated, how much is imported, and the total waste that is managed, which is this plus this will be equal to that. And then based on this, how much is the imported. So, this you take this number divided by the total and then multiply it by 100. So, that is how you get these values, the percentage of plastic waste that is imported, and that is around 12%. So, 12% of the plastic waste managed in China before this Chinese short ban was essentially the imported one. So, 100 kg if they were managing, 12 kg was coming from outside China. Now, that number has gone down because of this particular ban. So, the countries which were sending plastic waste, top countries that exported plastic waste to China in 2016, they started from Hong Kong, Japan, United States, US, Thailand, Germany, Belgium, Philippines, Australia, Indonesia and Canada. So, this total top 10 total was close to 76-77%. So, this much amount of plastic waste coming in. The thing that is coming from Hong Kong is actually part of it was also coming from other countries. So, it is not only generated in Hong Kong, it is generated somewhere else, but it is channeled through Hong Kong. So, that is why you see a pretty big number over there although the Hong Kong population is not as high as other countries that we have on this list over here. So, but around 77% of the plastic waste that was coming to China, imported that was getting imported into the China or exported to China, was coming from these top 10 countries, which is listed over here. Now, in if you look at the trade of plastic waste in mass per trade volume, where initially you have you are looking at the export quantity, you are looking at the import quantity, then export trade value and the import trade value. So, those export and imports are your dark lines, like firm lines, which with export being the dark line and the import being the gray line. And then trade values are again same colors as for export and import, but here the lines are dotted lines that we see over there. So, as you can see, there is a in terms of quantity, there is a increase in quantity in terms of import exports of plastic waste. You see an import, the numbers are going up. Similarly, numbers are also kind of going up for the import part too. And for the trade values, for the export trade values, you see kind of a increase, then there is a dip a little bit, and similarly the import trade value also there is a dip. So, what does that mean is although based on the market conditions, you do see fluctuations of up and down in terms of mass as well as corresponding the trade value for this plastic waste. And there are certain external factors in terms of policy in place. Plastics are now the packaging, many of these plastics are coming from packaging. The packaging is getting lighter, so you have those kind of impacts. With this China sort ban now, you will have a sharp decrease in the number. So, that is why you see towards the end most of these lines are kind of having a decrease because of the impact coming from this ban. Now, if you look at the source of plastic waste coming to China if you remember one thing, if you have noticed one thing, we are all looking at 2016 numbers, which is just before this China ban actually came into effect. So, we can compare how the things were. So, as you can see, sources of Chinese cumulative exports and imports. So, this is the cumulative exports represented by country, exports of PE, PS and PVC, with polystyrene, polyvinyl PVC, like polyvinyl chloride and polyethylene and other plastic. And then quantities for sources of Chinese imports, also imports for these. So, these are, as you can look at here. So, we have sources of Chinese imports as well as cumulative exports. So, those are the different if you look at the map, they have been given different shades for different countries, and then shades are based on the cumulative exports number, as over here this cumulative export numbers, the different shades as you can see, which 10 million or greater is given darker shade, which you see the United States including Alaska. Then you have slightly lighter shade is 5 millions to 10 millions. Then we have 2 millions to 5 millions, which seems to be the set for Australia. Then and similarly, I think the 0.5 to 2 million is the set given to Canada. And as you can see, there are some countries which doesn't have data, so there is no set over there. So, these are the cumulative export values, and the sources of Chinese imports. Those are, you see those different arrows or different these wires like import coming from US to China, and for different places from US to China. So, this is the sources of Chinese imports coming in from pretty much, you see the most of the developed countries is covered over here in terms of waste coming from developed countries to China, and thicker the line, more and more waste, lighter the line, thinner the line, less waste. So, that is how it has been presented over here. It is the sources of plastic waste imports into China in 2016 and the cumulative plastic waste exposed tonnage. So, that is from, again the value is from 1988 to 2016. So, that comes from the Brooks et al. Paper. Now, the destination countries for US exports of plastic waste. So, if you look at US being one of the biggest exporter of recyclable plastic waste material. So, if you can look at where they are ending up. So, you see that China is a big where they do go to China. We also get a good amount coming to India, which you see part of it is going to India as well. So, China, India, and there are several countries you see over here, and which Pakistan also, I am not sure yet, that Bangladesh, Burma, and many of these like Indonesia, Malaysia, and all those countries are there as well. Some South American countries, Latin American countries, that is where also it ends up. So, as you can see, plastic waste from again from US going into different countries for processing, resource recovery and all. And in this map as well, darker the shade, and these cumulative export numbers are provided. So, that is which means darker the shade, we have more and more values over there, which kind of shows up with the map as well. So, that is and then if you look at from Japan, destination countries of Japanese exports of plastic waste, and then cumulative from again 1988 to 2016. So, from Japan also we get things coming to India, things going to other African countries, things going to China, things going to some other countries, and also there are some exports to US as well, which may be for some specialized kind of plastic waste to be managed. So, this is we hear about US, Canada or other countries more, but we do not hear about like Japan, Korea and those countries. So, but Japan also has a lot of imports of waste going into other countries from their own land. Now, if you look at Germany, similar stuff as you saw for US to China and other countries. Similarly, we see from German exports of plastic waste, same color code, color combination, same color shades, and then you see the waste being sent to variety of places across the world. Mexican from Mexico, like if you look at for Mexican exports of plastic waste and cumulative plastic waste export tonnage. So, from Mexico part of it does go to US and for some kind of a processing there over and some goes to Canada as well, and part of it comes to India, and you see in Africa. And so, there are waste traveling. So, European Union also maybe for some specialized recycling. So, waste do travel. There is a lot of waste travel, as you can see the traveling of Mexican plastic waste in different parts. Again, similar example for UK, will not spend too much time, but you can have a look at it. UK, as you can see from UK, again waste going to several places around the world and where the waste is being managed. So, being said that, we will just have a look on what different scientists are thinking about having the impact of this plastic waste, plastic imports, and we will discuss that. So, let us look at a very short video on this one, and then we will talk about it. So, here as you can see, this was done by University of Georgia, and it talks about, it presents to you the global import and exports of plastic waste, and this is the numbers as the years are changing on the left, kind of giving the future projections. And if we can stop it for a minute. So, and then if you can look at it. So, here we are, what we are looking at is global import and export of plastic waste. So, it is the so if you think about what will happen in future in 2030. So, we have different colors. If I would request you to look at this a bit carefully over here. Oops. So, if these are we have the import and export, then imported and exported, then there are certain displaced. So, here the global annual import and exports have grown by around 770% through 2016. So, it is estimated that there would be 111 million metric ton of plastic waste will be displaced by 2030 due to the new Chinese import ban implemented in 2018. because of the Chinese import ban, we will have 111 million metric ton of plastic waste. Rather than going to China, it will go to some other place for management. So that's in terms of like the projection. So where the waste on the left hand side, we are looking at in terms of like a imported plastic and exported plastic, and those are imported is light blue or light blue color, or like you can say even like a light gray, light blue. This is the imported part that we are looking at. Then exported is the green part. Displaced, in the displaced category, we have imported as well as exported. Now, the imported has been given that light reddish color, and the exported is the dark red color. So, what this particular picture which is presenting to you is the global import and export of plastic waste. It is the metric ton of plastic waste imported and exported per country. So, how much is being imported as well as being exported. Now, if you look at Canada, it is importing certain plastic, and it is also exporting certain plastic container. And in terms of the displaced plastic, because the plastic that was actually going to China earlier, there is a sizable number of plastic which is your dark color, dark red color, which is getting displaced. It is rather than going to China, it has to be managed in some other way. Similarly, you can look at the other countries too. So, you can look at the other countries in terms of the Mexico, US, UK, Belgium, Netherlands, France, Germany, some examples here. Now, in terms of the displaced plastic, because since it is not going to, we have, it is getting in China's term, we were getting a lot of plastic coming in. So, we will have still some plastic, the cleaner ones coming into China, and there will be certain imports. So, you see a huge amount of plastic waste coming in, and there will be some plastic waste which is getting exported from China too. So that is the values over there. You see all that values coming. This is actually for the China part. Then we have Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, South Korea, Australia and Japan. This particular paper, which was done last year, does not include our India is not included over there. So, that's basically is trying to tell us that based on the China's ban on plastic, there will be an impact on how the plastic will move around the world, and different countries will get impacted. So, if we can continue this video a little bit more, let us see, we can go back to that. Oh, nope, sorry. We'll go back to that particular video. Just a second. We can go back to that. Yes, so if we can go back to that particular video. So, here what you are seeing is the imported and exported. So, that is what the values you are seeing, how much the import is coming, how the exports are going, and that will go right up to 2017. And now, here you start seeing the displaced, because where you have this plastic which was going to China earlier. So, these are all imported plastic coming to China but now we will have, as with the China short policy, you see those numbers started showing up, where this is actually going into the other countries too. Earlier it was all coming to China. It has to be managed within the country or has to go to some other countries. So, that is pretty much talks about, and then we will try to talk this in this particular slide as well. So, what is the implication? So, what we are now looking at, what is the implications of this China short policy. So, now it will be increased investment in countries where the waste material originates, as you saw in that particular small video clipping, that even the waste that is being produced, they started looking at, that is why you started seeing those red bars. That means that waste is being managed there itself. So, those waste, rather than going to China, is being managed itself. So, the US and Europe are improving their capacity to recycle resins, and with the new supply of volumes of polythene impacting the global balance, more volumes from domestic recycler could impact the price. New recycling facilities in other Asian countries. This also gives an opportunity for some other Asian countries to develop good recycling plants in their own country. Country like Malaysia, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, who are second in line recyclers, are likely to benefit from China's waste ban. If it is done properly, these countries are expected to consume a greater percentage of recycled polythene in domestic market, and so that will impact the virgin polythene consumption. But again, this has to be done in a proper manner, not in the informal sector with all those environmental damages. If it's done properly, it can have we can get some of these US and other companies finance some of those plants which runs properly in Indian context, and we can recycle those plastic materials so that we don't have to go for virgin material. So, and then there is also increased demand for feasible alternatives. So, this is the short term impact of this immediate block on material will likely cause a dramatic increase in the demand for existing alternative treatment solutions such as incineration and landfill because of decrease in available global capacity for recycling. So, those things are going to happen. Virgin resin demand to rise in China because China is getting less and less plastic coming in. So, there will be rise in virgin demand. This ban will help reduce the waste accumulated locally in Chinese consumption, and the volumes are smaller, but the net effect is that China is expected to consume a greater percentage of virgin plastic. So, they will have more and more of virgin plastics coming in, and the waste import ban will lead to higher operating fees for Chinese assets, which will lead to higher prices in the region as well. So that will be there. So, now there has been a lot of impact in terms of in different countries. As you can see that there is a China's waste ban is a wake up call for Japan, because Japan was sending a lot of plastics to China. So, they are talking about that China's ban is kind of a wake up call for Japan. So, it's the ban caused turmoil in Japan as the government is scrambled to find alternative to international plastic waste. So, Japan's reduce, reuse, recycle policy is forcibly like successful in promoting recycling. Now, they used to collect it, but they send it to China. So, what they should do, there are some suggestions that first Japan should introduce regulation on use of plastic produced by prohibiting the sale or charging a fee of single use plastic. Japan should establish a specific target for business industries to redesign, remanufacture, substitute and phase out plastic product. Japan should create a campaign to educate its customer and its business how to adopt eco-friendly waste practices. And this is not only true for it, same thing is going to happen in other countries too. And it is already happening in other countries where we need to start looking at that we cannot see this Chinese ban is really a good thing that happened to the world. I think in terms of plastic waste management and in general waste management as well, because we are now thinking more in terms of more innovative way of managing the waste rather than just sending it to China and forget about it and let the Chinese industry deal with it. So, that's really has created a lot of new ideas, new avenues. Thailand is to permanently ban plastic imports by 2021 because things were started coming to Thailand. So, they want to now ban plastic imports. So, they do not want plastic in there as well. So, it is a just after Vietnam stopped issuing license for scrap imports, Malaysia revoked license of 114th of countries scrap processor. All of those countries and other in Southeast Asia fear becoming the world's dumping ground for waste and recyclable materials following China's scrap ban and tightened contamination standards. So, all these countries are really worried that we will become a dumping ground, including in India. So, there are policies are being in place now so that it does not happen. Malaysia to end plastic imports within 3 years. So, you saw for China, similarly for Malaysia. So, they are looking at imports ban. They also put an import tax on scrap plastics. Tax approximately after October 23rd of 2018, it approximately tax of $3.785 per metric ton will be on plastic imports, where they are importing the materials for free. Now, they have to pay. Government is also tightening the requirement for Malaysia process to obtain operating profit. So, those things are there. Search for illegal processors. So those things again because of not become a kind of dumping ground because China is not taking this dirty material anymore. So, many countries want to make sure that they do not become a dumping ground over there. Vietnam to limit waste exports or shipment build up at ports. So, that is another area where Vietnam is also worried about. So, many countries are acting on that. UK recycling industry brace for impact as Chinese crackdown begins. So, UK, you go to Australia, I was in Australia last summer for 4 months, and most of again working on waste management related stuff, and most of the time the focus was more on how to deal with this waste now, including plastic waste, since China is now going to take it. And the thing is that if the logic by Australian companies that if I have to really clean it up to a contamination level of less than 0.5%, why don't I just use it within my own country? Why should I send it to China then? So, since I put it so much of energy and resources to clean it, I should try to use it within my own countries. So that is helping develop new markets for many of these recyclables, including for plastic. So again, UK is trying to brace for impact as Chinese crackdown. So UK recyclers are main. You will see lots and lots of these news articles and studies coming up. We have put together few just to give you an example, but there will be, you will find several of them, and every day, every week we see something or the other of these kind of. This is a very, very fluid situation right now in terms of the plastic management. So essentially all these, what that does mean, since China is not going to take those dirty plastic anymore, so the countries are forced to clean their plastic, and when they are cleaning those plastic, they are trying to develop their own market now as well. So they are trying to develop their own market so that they don't have to rely on future market, which in the long run is a good thing which has happened. So alternatively, as you can see that there are also in UK they are looking at destinations in Indonesia, India, Vietnam, and Canada, Cambodia, Malaysia. But there is no surety how long they will also accept this garbage. So those things are there. Now, in US scrap exports to China, as you can see over here, this is a very interesting because of this ban now. As you can see, initially January to April 2017, the figure of metric tons from 4.41 like if you put it in million, so 4.1 million metric tons, and then it gone down to 2.5 or 2.6 million metric ton with a percentage change of minus 37.48%. Plastic 92.2%, even copper, alloys. So all these, you see that negative here, other than the ferrous number, which is on the positive here. This is a kind of a odd man out. All these figures are negative, means export has gone down from January, April 2017, same period 2018. What was the difference? The Chinese ban came into effect in between here in January 2018 when they started forcing the ban. So you see there is a, so now what will happen to this difference of the garbage? It has to be managed within US or it needs to find some other market. So China was taking about 40% of the US paper, plastic, other recyclables, but then plastic dropped by 92% in the first 5 months of the year. Chinese market was greater than 15 markets combined. Now US is looking as a backup. So it's no other market can possibly take that much volume. So it's a little time for transition. Industries still have to react. So China's it's enormous opportunity. That's what I was told. The China's move to ban recyclable, an enormous opportunity. USA to see value in its own scrap. They said change will not be easy, nor will be quick, but they have many municipalities have invested heavily in single stream recycling, which everything to put in one recycling box, and that is creating a lot of contamination. So single stream recycling, again we can debate. We had, I think, that kind of a discussion in the waste management class, integrated waste management class, whether is it a single stream recycling is good or multi stream recycling is good. Single stream recycling is good as from an operational point of view, but then the quality of the recyclable goes down because you will have more contamination showing up there. So but that's what most of the cities have been practicing in North America. So let's look at this particular video and then we'll stop in terms of where what the US is struggling with, what to do with tons of recycled material. So we'll watch this video and then we'll stop this particular module.
can even send these materials. That just means
lots
that
and lots
buyers
of
are being more
recyclables.
selective on what they buy, and recycling
As you
centers are
can
left with
see, just
stockpiled bales
sitting
of
there,
recyclables.
it's not.
Well, for recyclers,
there's
it's been
no
kind of a
market.
horror story actually, because
I think there's something
you know,
wrong
we
with
have
the
limited
audio,
budgets
so
and
we'll-
limited labor to
So we'll
put
try to
at
play
these
this video in the next
sorting
one.
programs.
Looks like I have to
So,
fix this audio.
because brokers and buyers
Okay, so we'll discuss it in the discuss with this starting of the next module, next video of this. That will be the last video for this particular week, which will kind of summarize the impact of China ban. As you know, this particular week the focus has been on the plastic bans in different countries. We talked about India, we talked about some other countries, some African countries, and then the focus has been of this Chinese ban, because as you must have realized by this time that that's a big deal in terms of plastic waste management throughout the world, including its impact on India. So we'll continue our discussion in the next video. We'll talk about that and then wrap up this particular module. So thank you. I hope you are taking your quiz on time, and if any questions, put it on the discussion forum. We'll be happy to answer. Thanks, and see you again.